Ladies and gentlemen, let us compel ourselves to look with unblinking clarity at the unfolding saga within the landscape of professional basketball, for we are currently witnessing a sequence of events so stark, so undeniably fraught with systemic negligence that it demands a rigorous and unflinching examination. We find ourselves at a critical juncture where the treatment of a generational talent has transcended the boundaries of mere competitive physicality and entered the realm of the egregious. We are speaking, of course, of the continued sanctioned brutalization of Caitlin Clark, a phenomenon that has persisted from the very moment she placed her foot upon the hardwood of the Women's National Basketball Association. It is a narrative that has become impossible to ignore, a spectacle of targeted aggression that forces us to question the very integrity of the officiating that governs the league. When we observe the manner in which Clark is defended, we are not watching a standard contest of athletic merit. We are watching a player being subjected to a physical onslaught that would be deemed unacceptable in almost any other context. She cannot help but vocalize her frustration, and indeed she possesses every moral and professional right to blast the referees for their inaction. We have watched with a growing sense of incredulity as she has been targeted, battered, and treated with a level of hostility that suggests she is viewed not as a peer, but as an existential threat to be neutralized by any means necessary. Consider, if you will, the undeniable reality that she has become the most flagrantly fouled player in the league. This is not hyperbole. This is the observable truth of the season. We have witnessed scenarios that defy the logic of sportsmanship, such as the actions of Ari McDonald, who, in a display of baffling prioritization, seemingly disregarded the fundamental objective of shooting a free throw and the opportunity to shoot another, solely to sprint down the court and face guard Caitlin Clark. I've seen her guarded for 94 feet, the entire length of the court, even during the exhibition setting of an all-star game. It is a suffocating, relentless pressure designed not merely to defend, but to harass, to wear down, and to physically intimidate. The discourse cannot be complete without addressing the sheer nonsense that has been allowed to fester. The incidents involving Chennedy Carter and the myriad other moments of targeted aggression paint a portrait of a league that has lost control of its own competitive environment. If there is any individual within the professional sports hierarchy who deserves the latitude to take verbal shots at the referees, to criticize the adjudicators on all levels, it is unequivocally Caitlin Clark. And here, we must direct a candid and critical gaze toward the leadership. Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner entrusted with the stewardship of this league, one must say with profound disappointment, you have done a terrible job of fixing a problem that is plain for all to see. You have, quite definitely, failed to address a dynamic that threatens the safety and the aesthetic integrity of the game. But, ladies and gentlemen, we must break this down further. We must delve into the mechanics of this dysfunction. Caitlin Clark calls out referees and players for hacking non-stop because that is her reality. The whistle remains silent. The referees are calling nothing. It is a dereliction of duty that requires us to get into the weeds of this issue. Welcome to the vision we are keeping alive here. As we navigate this complex topic, make sure you engage with us, like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, and hit that bell notification to ensure you are part of this crucial conversation. Let us hype the video as well, for the message needs to be heard. Let us now pivot to the broader context of what Caitlin Clark represents, for her plight is inextricably linked to her revolutionary style of play. We have reports surfacing that Caitlin Clark has made a request reminiscent of Steph Curry to the rest of the NBA, a plea that applies with equal force to her own situation. This comparison is not made lightly. She is, in the very essence of her game, like Steph Curry. This applies across the board, in every facet of how the defense reacts to her presence. Clark has not minced words about the Golden State Warriors star, and in doing so, she highlights the shared burden of the transformative athlete. The key points here are undeniable. Caitlin Clark's play and her unparalleled deep shooting have revolutionized the WNBA in a manner that naturally draws comparisons to Steph Curry. To understand the present, we must briefly contextualize her rise. Her ascent to superstardom began when she established herself as one of the most electrifying players in college basketball history at Iowa. She led Division I in scoring and assists. She shattered records that were thought to be unbreakable, and she drew unprecedented, historic attention to the women's game. Later drafted #1 by the Indiana Fever, she has quickly become one of the most recognizable names in the entirety of the basketball world. Her deep shooting range, her creativity with the ball in her hands, and her supreme confidence from well beyond the arc have separated her from her WNBA peers. She has reshaped how defenses approach the very concept of guarding a player. This style has naturally and quite correctly drawn comparisons to the Golden State Warriors star Steph Curry. Clark has openly acknowledged Curry's profound impact on her own development, citing him as a player she has long admired. They are, quite literally, the only ones shooting from the parking lot. They are out there somewhere, operating in a zone that other players simply do not inhabit. I grew up watching Steph play, Caitlin Clark has stated. Following a game against the Golden State Valkyries last season, she articulated her reverence, noting that he is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. She spoke of what he has been able to accomplish in his career, how he has fundamentally changed basketball. "It's cool to be here," she said. "He's somebody I idolize." This is not merely flattery, it is a recognition of a shared lineage of innovation. Like Curry, Clark's presence alone forces defenses to adjust well before she even crosses half court. The gravitational pull she exerts on the defense is singular. These similarities resurfaced with striking relevance on Sunday after Curry made headlines for the way the Charlotte Hornets defended him. We saw a strategy of frequently grabbing, holding, and face-guarding him far away from the ball. Does that not sound exactly like the experience of Caitlin Clark in the WNBA? The grabbing, the holding, the face-guarding, the status of being the most flagrantly fouled player, the targeting, all of this stuff is mirrored in the treatment of Curry. However, let us be unequivocally clear. She gets it way worse than Steph Curry does. Let us not mince words about the severity of her treatment. She gets treated like she is on a prison yard. That is the only visceral comparison that fits. She is treated like fresh meat on the prison yard. That is what Caitlin Clark endures in the WNBA, all while generating revenue for these franchises, making these players money, increasing their popularity, and drawing eyes to the product from people who were not watching them before. But that perhaps is a conversation for another day. We must stay focused on the immediate issue. After the game in question, NBC Sports Bay Area posted a video of Curry addressing this physical coverage on TikTok, sparking reactions across the basketball world. Included in that chorus of reaction was Caitlin Clark. On Monday, she weighed in directly in the comment section with a blunt, poignant plea to defenders. She wrote, "We want to see Steph making 12 threes a game. Stop grabbing him, please." This was her direct interjection. The comment makes profound sense coming from Clark, for she knows that feeling intimately. She knows it well. Throughout her WNBA career, she has routinely faced this exact brand of aggressive coverage, constant ball pressure, and extended defensive attention designed specifically to limit her shooting opportunities. Still, like Curry, Clark has continued to adapt, impacting games through her playmaking, her off-ball movement, and by drawing that defensive attention to open space for her teammates. It is worth noting that Curry managed just 14 points during that game, yet provided 5 assists as the Warriors earned a victory against the Hornets. Hopefully, defenders will be more kind to Curry and grant Clark's request when he returns to action against the Miami Heat. But look at the absurdity of the strategy employed against them. The opponents did all of that, the grabbing, the fouling, and they still got beat by 20 or 30 points. You see the futility of it? It appears that these opponents would rather lose by 30 points than allow the star to perform. As long as you don't get off, they are satisfied. I'm just going to grab and foul and face guard you for 94 feet. They do not care if they are supposed to help on defense or stop a layup. No, you can have a layup, they seem to say. I just don't want you to score. That is the type of energy, the specific brand of defensive malice that has been permeating the league, and that is what Caitlin Clark has dealt with from the door. From the moment she stepped foot into this league, it has been absolutely trash. We must also turn our gaze to another story that illustrates the sheer magnitude of her cultural footprint, a story surfacing from the world of college football. It appears Caitlin Clark reacts to a gesture from a college football star, and Indiana fans may not like it. Clark made her feelings clear on the Indiana versus Miami College Football Playoff Championship game. During this WNBA offseason, the Indiana Fever Guard has not been shy about sharing her sports opinions online. When she is not on the basketball court, the 23-year-old can be found on X, posting about the Kansas City Chiefs, NBA star Steph Curry, and her beloved Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team. Ahead of Monday's college football playoff national championship game between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes, Clark found herself as part of the conversation yet again. Indiana wide receiver Elijah Sarrett, who is super nice by the way the man can ball, made headlines by admitting to reporters that he named his dog Cece in recognition of the WNBA All-Star. This is remarkable because he went to a rival Big Ten school. Consider the implication of that. By the next WNBA season, I tell you, I am going to have a dog. I am going to show it to you all. And my dog's name is going to be Cece, too. How about that? That is what we are doing over here. Let us all get dogs and name them Cece. Shout out to Elijah Sarrett. She's named after Caitlin Clark, Sarrett said. He noted that Indiana fans may not like it. It would be a lot for Hoosier fans to turn on Sarrett, who has formed a dynamic 1-2 punch with Omar Cooper Jr. as the top two receivers for Heisman Trophy-winning quarterback Fernando Mendoza heading into the Miami game. Sarrett has 62 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 15 touchdowns on the season. Yet, even in the midst of his own success, the influence of Caitlin Clark permeates the conversation. So, we return to the central thesis. Caitlin Clark calling out these bums for referees that we continue to see across professional sports is not just complaint. It is a necessary corrective. As she should call them out, they deserve to be called out, man. It just is what it is. You have got to be better at your job. Simply be better at your job. The standard must be raised. The protection of the players, the integrity of the game, and the flow of the competition depend on it. This situation requires us to remain vigilant. The combination of poor officiating, targeted physicality, and the sheer brilliance of a player who is changing the geometry of the court creates a volatile mix. We are watching a historical career unfold in real time against a backdrop of resistance that borders on the farcical. Whether it is the comparison to Steph Curry, the empathy regarding the grabbing and holding that plagues the game's greatest shooters, or the cultural crossover into college football, Caitlin Clark remains the epicenter of the basketball conversation. But I want to know where you stand on this. Get down in the comments to let me know what you think. Do you believe the league is doing enough? Is the comparison to Steph Curry's treatment accurate, or is what we are seeing with Clark something entirely different, something far more sinister? The evidence is there for all to see. The targeted fouls, the face guarding, the refusal of referees to blow the whistle. It paints a picture that is undeniable. We must demand better. We must keep the vision clear. And we must continue to highlight these discrepancies until the game is officiated with the respect and competence it deserves. The narrative is written on the court, in the comment sections, and in the very fabric of the sports culture we consume. From the parking lot shots to the prison yard defense, the story of Caitlin Clark is one of brilliance besieged by brutality. It is a story that we will continue to break down piece by piece until the reality of the situation is acknowledged and addressed by those in power. Until then, we watch, we analyze, and we speak the truth about what is happening between those lines. Consider the parallels we have drawn today. The link between Curry and Clark is not merely stylistic, it is experiential. It is the shared fraternity of the targeted. When Clark types, "Stop grabbing him, please," she is not just defending an idol, she is defending the very art form of shooting against the crude mechanics of obstruction. She is pleading for the game to be played as it was intended, where skill triumphs over brute force, where the beautiful game is allowed to breathe. And let us not overlook the irony of the opponents. The strategy of anyone but her, the willingness to sacrifice the integrity of the defensive scheme just to make a point, is a testament to fear. It is a tacit admission that they cannot stop her within the confines of the rules, so they must step outside of them. They would rather lose by 30 than let her shine. That is a profound psychological defeat, masked as defensive intensity. As we move forward, as we look toward the next season, toward the return of Curry, toward the next chapter of Clark's career, these themes will remain relevant. The dogs named Cece, the tweets about officiating, the highlights from the logo, they are all threads in the same tapestry. It is a tapestry of a game in transition, struggling to accommodate a talent that defies convention. So stay tuned. The drama is far from over. The discussion is only just beginning. And as always, we will be here to dissect it, to analyze it, and to bring you the unvarnished truth of the matter, because that is what this situation demands. Nothing less than our full, undivided, and critical attention. The brilliance of the parking lot shooter is that they expand the court. They stretch the defense to its breaking point. But when the defense responds by breaking the rules and the referees respond with silence, the game itself contracts. It becomes smaller, uglier, less than what it could be. That is the tragedy we are fighting against. That is why Caitlin Clark calls them out. That is why we call them out. And that is why this conversation matters. We have seen the footage. We have heard the comments. We have analyzed the stats. The conclusion is inescapable. Caitlin Clark is navigating a minefield of hostility with historic grace, but she should not have to do it alone. The league, the officials, the leadership, they all have a role to play. And right now, they are failing. It is time for that to change. It is time for the fresh meat on the prison yard mentality to be eradicated from the professional game. It is time for the artistry to be protected. It is time for the referees to do their job. And until that happens, we will keep talking about it. We will keep highlighting the nonsense. We will keep amplifying the voices that demand better, because the game deserves it. The players deserve it. And you, the fans, deserve it. This is the state of play. This is the reality we face. And we will not look away, not for a second, not until the whistle blows and the call is finally correctly made. The connection between the college football world and the WNBA star serves as a final, lighter reminder of her reach. When a rival player names his dog after you, you have crossed a threshold. You have become a symbol. Elijah Sarrett knows it, we know it, and soon, hopefully, the referees will realize that you cannot officiate a symbol like just another player. You have to officiate the game with the respect it commands. So let us cast our gaze forward. Let us hope for a future where the Steph Curry request is honored, where the grabbing stops, and where the shooters are free to let it fly. That is the vision. That is the goal. Let us keep it in sight.